Hey everybody, it's Tammy here. I just want to share a little story of transformation on this Earth Day. So happy Earth Day. So many of you may know, I entered into the dark night of the soul about 10 years ago, and I've been slowly coming out for the past 2 to 3 years. And the dark night of the soul was a series of transformational crises and paradigm shifts that I did not feel ready for or prepared for in any way, shape, or form. And it was loss after loss after loss after loss. Loss of relationships, loss of jobs, loss of dreams, building things only for them to disintegrate over and over and over. Not being able to get a footing, not having anything to stand on. Every single belief that created my foundation and structure was challenged and destroyed. Relationships were lost. There was physical death. So many loved ones passed away. Really, most important relationship in my life passed away. Friends passing away. It was just every type of loss, every type of death and decay and deterioration and disintegration that exists kept happening over and over and over. The minute I would get a foothold, it would slip out from under me, to the point I didn't have anywhere to stand for 7 years. Luckily, I was with my husband, and he basically took care of me. He allowed me to, or his working and his support allowed me to go through this process in a safe environment. There was one day I was walking down the street, and this wasn't just a dark night in the physical material realm. This was also in a spiritual way as well. So everything, all levels of functioning, from the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, were crumbling and disintegrating, and I was literally left with nowhere to stand. I had no connection, very little connection to anything. I, was suicidal for years, and then perimenopause came, and then I became suicidal once a month due to the fluctuation of hormones. I had to grieve the loss of the children that I had chosen not to have. I went into a state of grief that was so deep that I was grieving the collective grief of every single human, every single being that has ever lived. I tapped into that grief, and I grieved it all. I spent years and years just grieving it all. The loss of my mortality, the loss of my childhood, the loss of my children, the loss of others' children, the pain and the suffering that every human being has felt, I felt in every ounce of my being. It's the deepest, darkest chasm that I fell into. But when I landed, it was like you're being punched over and over and over until there's nothing left but pulp, that you are beaten down to the pure essence of yourself, into full and complete humility, into full and complete surrender, where you just fall apart completely and fully, to where there's nothing left. Nothing of your psyche is left. And then in that place, you're left with the essence of you, of who and what you are, which is this ball of light, this ball of potential and energy, and that is light. That is, it's just love. And when I went through it all, there would be moments of happiness, there would be moments of joy, and then it became an experience of the heart opening so fully that it could literally hold it all. The highs, the lows, the dark, the light, the pain and the suffering, the joy and the abundance. Like it became a full experience of the depth of being human, and also realizing that I'm more than human. So on this Earth Day, I want to share, this is my new home. Asa and I were not planning on moving, and we just look from time to time. We're always searching for that unicorn, that opportunity or possibility to live in a home in the city and have a yard and be able to be outside. And I want to say that this is the first real experience of transforming and falling into joy rather than pain or suffering. So I've read by many of our modern masters that transformation can be a joyous process. That was not my path. One of my, she's my teacher as well, but our teacher, Swami Lakshmanju, she spent many, many years with him, and she says that he would say that God either caresses you and pats you on your back on the way to enlightenment, or he'll give you a big push and a shove. And my path was the path of the push and the shove, over the cliff into nothingness, where everything falls away and falls apart. So I actually didn't believe these modern masters who said that you can transform through joy, you can transform through abundance, you can transform in a happy, peaceful, loving way. But I can tell you, after walking the dark night and coming out on the other side, I'm still partly in from time to time, but I'm mostly out now, that this is the first experience of free falling into joy and abundance. So this is our front yard. The people who lived here previously were permaculturalists, so they've created an ecological system which is basically yoga manifest, where everything is connected and everything is dependent upon everything else for its survival. And it's just a beautiful way to live, a way that Asa and I have been dreaming of living for so long and didn't think we would ever have the money to be able to do so. That even renting a house in Los Angeles is really, really expensive. But it was literally within 3 days, we went from not planning on moving at all to having signed a lease that came with a front and backyard that is filled with food. So just in the week or so that we've been tending to this new garden, we're not able to be in the house yet, but we are able to come to the front and backyard and water and work and harvest. Right now we're harvesting chard, arugula, and mint and cilantro. There are squash growing. There's pomegranate flowers blooming. There's artichoke growing. There's well, that's a beautiful little rose right here beside me is growing, and we have figs that are growing right now, and loquats and lemons and limes. There's tons of lavender and rosemary, and there's sunflowers. Yeah, it's just a magical wonderland of beautiful earth. And what I've learned already is that, you know, when you tend to the earth, you tend to yourself. And I think that's important right now, given that we're in this pandemic that started because of a person's relationship to the earth and to its inhabitants. So basically, coming back to the transformational aspect of this, I had recently had an experience, an experience of being in a high state of consciousness. And in that state of consciousness, I experienced myself to be love, to be one, to be at one with everything. That my heart was your heart, was the earth's heart, was, you know, when I went into the state, everything fell away. All egos fell away. All personalities fell away. All living beings stopped having an identity and became one thing. And there was just this pulsation of love that was everything. And when I came back into an experience of being an individual, I realized that I was so much more than this human that I am, while I am still very much human. And I wrote this little piece, and I'll probably write it out for you to go along with this video, but I wrote this piece out of how, you know, growing up as a Christian, you're taught that your body is your temple, same as, you know, Judaism, other cultures, other religions believe this as well. But it was a true experience of I am a sanctuary, that this human vessel is a container that holds all of this love and joy and peace, and that the other stuff isn't the truth of who I am at all. And so I started wanting to take care of my body, not because I want to lose weight, not because I'm supposed to stay healthy, not because of any reason other than I want to put things in it that match what I know myself to be, to strive towards maintaining that state of oneness, that understanding and that experience of being light and of being love and of being this pulsation, this vibration of, you know, the most beautiful energy. And as a human being on this planet, you know, the best way to do that is to have a healthy relationship with the earth and her inhabitants. And so in the week that we've been here harvesting food, the food is so rich, and it has a flavor. I'm tasting flavors that I've not tasted before, except for growing up, you know, going to my granddaddy's house when he had his little garden out in the yard, and we would eat vegetable soup and things like that out of his garden. But the food here is so rich, and there's so much life-giving, life force energy in it. It literally makes you high. Like, we made an arugula salad the other day, and I was so high. My face got all hot, and like I turned red. There was just like so much pulsing through my body. It was like burning and stinging and zinging, and like, you know, just like energy. I was like, oh my gosh. So we're now cutting back a little bit on how much arugula we're taking in at one time. But so in this message that I wrote down, I was saying, you know, I want everything to be in alignment with this experience. And so what happens is, you know, literally 3 days later, we've signed a lease that comes with a Garden of Eden. It's amazing. So in this time of tending to this garden already, I've learned that in tending to the earth, I am tending to myself. That everything is connected. This pandemic has showed us that everything is connected. Everything is one. And I know some of you may have been thrust into the dark night by this pandemic, and I am so sorry. I'm so sorry for any pain that you're experiencing. I'm so sorry for any suffering that you're going through. But I will tell you that it is all for your benefit. It is for the benefit not just of you, but of all. Because we are broken down into the very essence of who and what we are. On the other side of that is the joy, the love, the peace, and the abundance that you are seeking. I promise. I promise. So I just want to close with something my daddy would say at the end of every prayer at every meal. And I say it now every time I harvest some food here. He would always close with, "May this food nourish my body so that my body may be of service." May this food nourish my body so that my body may be of service. So I want to share this blessing that we are receiving with you. If you're in need and you need some food, please direct message me and I will help harvest whatever we have here and help you out, okay? So many blessings to each of you. Tend to your connection to the earth. When you tend to her, you tend to yourself. We're all connected. When you tend to yourself, you tend to each of us. We are all one. We are all living yoga every single day. So much love to you all, and happy Earth Day.